Today, on This American Dice, in the aftermath of Aji's delusion, Yugare stands over his now wounded colleague and must determine why he would attack Yugare's children, and what could set even the Thunder Guard on one another, as yet another part of the city is in turmoil. Find out how it all goes down today on This American Dice.
The small shrine is never busy. Up in the mountains of Agasha lands, there is barely anyone to visit, let alone fill it. Of course, the exceptions to this are funerals, and in this case, weddings. A 16 or 17-year-old Yugare looks around at the faces of every relative he can name. The Agasha are one of the smallest families in Rokugan, and thus a marriage outside of the Dragon Clan is attended by literally every member able to make the trip. It's the unfamiliar faces, though, that are far more interesting to young Yugare. Few outsiders make it this far into the Dragon Mountains, and these outsiders stand out significantly, clad as they are in the masks their clan is famous for. Yugare's eyes meet the gaze of one of the Scorpion, a slightly shorter man in his late 30s, handsome despite his choice of a mask that makes it seem he has the tusks of a boar. The man, perhaps an uncle or older cousin of the bride, simply winks. Agasha Kaito, is that how you'd say his name?
Mm-hmm.
Agasha Kaito and Shosuro Funtaishi stand before Agasha Tomori, the young head of the Agasha family. Funtaishi's dress is the traditional white, symbolizing her death to her family. Despite this, however, she still wears a mask, though it's more of a sheer veil through which she gazes at Kaito. So my question to go around the table is, how do we know that these two are enamored with one another? So Kaito, Yugare's brother, and Funtaishi, his soon-to-be sister-in-law. So how do we know that the couple is enamored with one another?
They're holding hands in public.
Okay, so maybe, they would normally not at all be doing that, but they've started to do that, or several times have been doing that. Yeah.
And when they are apart, like talking to their own sides of the family, they keep like stealing glances at each other and like giggling and smirking in the middle of other conversations.
Okay.
Oh, what if they have like maybe almost like a wedding thing where it's like they make a mon of the average of them? I don't know what the mons would be. Like whatever their specific family ones, They have that made and they're like, oh, this is early to do that, but sure.
Okay. So they've already done the equivalent of this would be our home or our baby's name kind of a thing.
Yeah, almost just like the wedding mom specifically commissioned for this or something.
Okay. When you said that at first, the immediate thing I thought of was when people take celebrities and try to be like, what if they had a baby and smush them together? All right. So my question to you then, since you're going last, is a different question. Yeah. So. Why is there a little bit of doubt in Yugare's mind that these two are actually enamored with one another?
Because the family has met the sister-in-law so recently. Like, this has been really quick.
Okay. So even for arranged marriages...
Super quick.
This was... Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Agasha Tomori, again, the head of the Agasha family. Tomori begins reciting a blessing for the couple. In a family known for producing shigenja, one half of the samurai in attendance know the blessings by heart and chant in a call and response to their patriarch's words. When Tomori stops, he turns to Kaito. I will be your husband. I will provide for you and our family. I will honor you and accept you into my home, Kaito says, looking into the eyes of his bride-to-be. Yugare and Kaito's father, still spry despite his age, hands Kaito a small cup of sake. Slowly, he takes 3 sips, and then, as tradition dictates, is handed a slightly larger cup from which he takes 3 sips more, and 3 more from the largest and final cup. Tomori then places a branch of a cherry blossom tree on the ground, which will later be burned as an offering to the kami. The two step closer to one another, and then apart, and maidens help to unfasten the outermost layer of Shosuro Funtaishi's clothes, revealing a red dress underneath her almost funereal garb, symbolizing her rebirth. Her former life with her parents and her family is over, and she will begin anew. As cherry blossoms are slowly scattered on the ground around her by servants, she takes off her mask and becomes Agasha Funtaishi. And I think we kind of see the couple kind of slowly walking past some of their relatives and greeting them. And since it's up in the mountains, maybe these cherry blossoms are not the freshest things in the world, so they're almost like dried cherry blossoms, so there's a slightly different instead of them slowly scattering down, they kind of like more crisply fall and then are crunched on by people. And we see a transition as the couple walks past the camera. And then we see a visibly pregnant Agasha Funtaishi walking quickly past Yugare. He's a bit older, but not by much. She carries a fine red cloth that is meant to wrap Yugare and Mizaki's child upon its birth. The midwife and women of the family have all assured Yugare that Mizaki will have a boy. As a man, Yugare is not permitted in the room as he hears his wife groan through labor pains. In a small suite, he and his brother wait for news of the birth as their father, Riku, attempts to share some wisdom. What kind of voice should Riku have?
Your voice.
My voice?
How'd you picture him?
Like,
Fatherly.
Yeah.
I guess like kind of like pleasant, but maybe at first glance he seems gruff, but then he'll just like smile and say something silly.
And I think he takes a drink from a cup of sake and then goes, You wouldn't come out, Yugare. Your mother was in there for days. It was hours, your brother says. I remember waiting to see if I was going to have a brother I'd have to share my toys with, or a sister who would mean Dad and I would have to listen to another girl. Your father just turns and says, well, we'll still have to see which would have been better, right? And I think he nudges you playfully. The groans stop and a crying begins. In a moment, Funtaishi comes in, her belly swollen with what will soon be Yugare's niece or nephew. It's a boy, she says. You can come in. As she leads you back into the room where Mizaki holds your newborn son, your sister-in-law briefly grips your wife's hand, and the two smile at one another. So how can we tell that your sister-in-law and your wife have become very good friends? Or let me rephrase this, because Andrew doesn't have to answer first. How can we tell Yugare's wife Mizaki and Yugare's sister-in-law Funtaishi have become close friends?
Go ahead. I was gonna say maybe they just keep like talking to each other. I mean, it's kind of silly, but like whispering jokes into each other's ears, like little girls almost.
Okay. So they're always chatting, always kind of hanging out with one another.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe there's like almost like a family joke. It's like, oh, those two are having tea time now because something that would like making tea is like, I don't know, 15 minutes long, and they usually take like an hour or two because they're just like chatting and stuff.
Okay.
You're like, oh, they're probably at tea time again. They're late for this thing.
I'm going to say Andrew's wife specifically asked for the sister-in-law to be there.
Okay. And then finally, Tone, you get the flip question here. What's weird about their friendship?
See, at like gatherings, they always seem to like try to one-up each other, like by like how they dress, things like that. You could say it's like there's like a side competition of some sort with them.
Okay.
Frenemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the times though they seem like they're in competition with one another. All right. So we see Yugare walk into this room, and there's another transition. Where was Yugare when he got the news of the bandit attack that ultimately took the lives of his father and brother?
I think like a different dragon house. Like he was traveling.
So he was also traveling?
Oh, in my head, the bandits attacked the family house.
I think it would make more sense if they attacked these guys like on the road or something like that, rather than showing up there.
Okay.
But if you think that that's the way you want to keep it, you can switch it up pretty easily.
Yeah, maybe they would like go into town or something, and so they were traveling close to home.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Sure. Where was Yugare though?
But he was like, he'd been invited to like a different dragon house, a different family, and it was all very confusing. Like, why am I being invited to this? And so he was just like off at somebody else's house, and then some runners or whatever came and said, hey, this thing happened. We got word. Maybe like he didn't even, like the runners didn't even know to tell him. They didn't know it was his family. They were telling their lord, but Yugare was there and like overheard it. Like, does that make sense?
So I think we see this as you guys walk into the birthing chamber. We see that kind of swipe. We see a servant kind of coming out of a room and calling Yugare in. And the servants have called Yugare into his brother's room. He's not long for this world. Even from outside, the sobs of Agasha Funtaishi can be heard as she sits with her dying husband. Despite the servant's attempts to give Yugare and his dying brother time alone, Funtaishi has refused to leave the side of her husband. That's where we kick things off as like an open scene for you.
And this is Yugare first seeing his brother after this attack?
Yeah.
I think I'll rush in and maybe take the other side of the bed, basically, and to probably interrupt whatever, if they were talking.
I think she's just crying.
Okay. So just say, what happened?
Yugare. His breathing is really, really labored. And I think we see the tops maybe of some bandages, but for the most part he's kind of covered up by a blanket because the idea is we could bandage him up all we want. It's not going to do much more. So at least while his wife and his brother are in the room, cover that is kind of maybe the thought. He says, Yugare, there you are. He kind of reaches out his hand.
Yeah, I'll take his hand. Say, I should have been there. I'm so sorry. I should have been there.
You were at Shiro Muramoto. It's fine. We just went up to the shrine, only 10 miles away. Bandits. It was a trap. Archers.
But why? What did they take? Why you?
I don't know. I remember my horse fell. I remember maybe they stole something. Where's Dad?
Does Yugare know?
Yeah, I think Yugare already knows their father has died.
I'd say it's just us now, brother.
I think he says, why did they bring me back here? Why didn't they let me stay with him?
He's already gone. There's nothing we could have done there for him. But now you're here, we're together, it'll be okay.
I don't know what happened. I think I let him down. I can't believe I left with and he's kind of starts breathing heavier and heavier, and Shosuro Funtaishi kind of starts crying more. And my question is, what happens that makes Yugare suspect she was involved?
Maybe she slips up or maybe she says something that could be innocuous, but Yugare interprets a particular way, and maybe she says something like, they said he would be okay. And maybe she meant the doctors, but Yugare interprets it as she was in on it. They told her that he wouldn't be hurt, and he was, and that's what she's talking about.
A large city surrounded by green walls and acres of poppy fields. A group of monks traveled toward the city, exchanging prayers for whatever alms the poor peasants of the countryside can spare. In the noble quarter, we see a beautiful but imposing palace and a foreign-looking minareted estate. In the temple quarter, we see the glistening white temple of the sun goddess with its 60-foot pole topped by a shimmering golden spear, and the temple of the fortune of wealth with its towering statue of the patriot god of the city. Next door in the merchant quarter, we see busy streets with noisy merchants selling wares from all over Rokugan and beyond. On the other side of the Bay of Drowned Honor, the fisherman's quarter, dirtier with poorer commoners, meaner gangs, and shabby dwellings amid the docks and warehouses. We pass the leather workers' quarter, the home of the Ada, the Untouchables, and the only building of notice there, the city crematorium. Finally, we arrive at Teardrop Island, the license quarter, with its perpetual twilight of hanging lanterns, fine sake and geisha houses. We follow a man in a basket hat as he's beckoned inside by a beautiful geisha. He enters and removes his hat. We see one of the monks from the beginning. Ryoko Owari, City of Lies.
Yeah, we have Aji, who I think is either passed out or at least he's passed out, but narratively so. So you can wake up whenever you want in this scene. It's not like you have to hit a savings throw or you're out for X number of rounds or minutes. Right. And Yugare, you look down and you see the at least knocked down Aji, who is still, I think, just kind of he was gripping the hilt of his sword, and you managed to pry his hand off of the sword. maybe the sword is like kind of like a quarter or halfway out of the saya, out of the scabbard, but his hand is now almost looks, I think we said like blackened, as if it had been burned severely, almost like it has like frostbite.
Is it like smoking?
Yeah, I think it is smoking. You can smell like the burning hair from the back of his hand and his wrist. You're standing there above there, and I think the thing that kind of maybe you're kind of like, what is happening or what's going on, and you're kind of focused on that, and the thing that kind of snaps you out of it, Yugare, maybe is either your kids or your wife, like screaming or yelling. Like either the kids are really upset or she's screaming at the kids to get back and get away.
Yeah, I think Yugare was just completely entranced by the fact that he just, like, incinerated someone else today.
Wow, this seems familiar.
Yeah. And then, like, here's, like, the rising clamor behind him of just, like, oh my gosh, what happened? And Daddy is... What was he doing? Is he okay? What's that smell?
It smells delicious.
I think I just, like, I don't know. Is anybody else here? Is it just us right now?
I think not, because I think these guys were off doing something. I think Tayo and Ishii were, and I think that's where we're about to have them having a conversation in a moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you two are the only magistrates at the residence at the moment.
Well, if Mitsuki is there, like, she comes out, I'll just have to say, like, you have to take them to the other room right now. Like,
yeah, I think she's just like kind of shuffling them off.
how?
I think maybe your oldest son is maybe a little too big for her to carry, so she's just kind of like tugging him along.
Yeah. Yeah, when I see that, I'll say, go with your mother. It's dangerous right now.
And perhaps perhaps one of the servants has come out and been like, oh, I perhaps have walked into something I shouldn't be here for, and it's kind of backing out of the room and kind of bowing.
Yeah, I'll say, go get the other magistrates.
I think for just drama's sake,
He just doesn't?
he'll nod,
Sure.
as opposed to be like, where are they? Which would be lame in a show.
I guess I have to go down and, like, assess the situation now. Like, is he... Like you said, he's unconscious until he decides not to be.
Yeah, so he can wake up when you want him to be, but if you read a situation, sounds like a thing that would definitely make sense.
Yeah, none of these questions really make sense, though.
Do you have that move advanced?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, well, if you roll well enough, you can ask whatever.
Who's in control here? It's that illusion magic, though.
Yeah. All right, I'll give it a shot. Anyway.
Yeah,
What really happened?
I'm going to say some of those I think could work out pretty well in this
Yeah,
scene.
you could rock something.
9.
9. So 9 total or 9 plus?
9 total.
Okay.
I guess what enemy is the biggest... I guess what should I be on the lookout for? Like, I'm worried that he's gonna... The situation seems resolved, but I'm worried that he's gonna, like, wake up and it's just, like, right back to...
I think you look down at what's happening, and you remember the conversation you were having with Aji where he was accusing you of stealing his opium pipe, basically, and maybe you can figure out that's what he was getting at, because I don't think he necessarily said it.
Right.
And you think about what you already know about Aji, and you think back about what Kuni Renyu said about what Kansen do, and you remember when you were in Soshi Serioku's house, I know this is a lot of names, you remember when you were in that house, something contacted you, the thing that had asked you before, the horse demon, as we called it.
Right.
Asked you, basically said, I can help you, and if you don't take my help, I'll give it to someone who you do not want to have it. And you realize there is definitely someone who you did not want to have that help, who has it. And it fits with Kuni Renyu's description of someone going after folks with, like, all of us have flaws, but folks with, like, a weakness that can be exploited. And you can see, like, oh, there is something that has the power of this, like, black magic that tried to not use Aji as a tool, yes, but exploit a weakness that already exists there.
So that it's the Dark Kami itself or someone else empowered by the Dark Kami?
So based on what you remember about what it said, it threatened that it would give its power to someone you would not want to have it.
Okay.
And this definitely makes sense that that's what's going on right now.
So someone working through the
That Aji
Yeah,
has.
or utilizing that kami.
Okay.
Not that Kansen, because they're not. Yeah, they're not quite the same. The dark spirits Kansen.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, it's just that you only get one or you get two.
just one.
Okay,
Just
good.
I was just reminding myself which one I actually asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess maybe we need to. I'll start trying to bind Aji somehow then before he wakes up, in case he wakes up flailing like before.
Okay.
Are you waking up to say that?
Yeah. What are you doing?
You cannot be trusted right now.
What are you talking about?
I'm gonna. I want to say just continue trying to bind you unless you like pull away, and then I'm not gonna like grapple you for it. But
Yeah. So what are you binding Aji with? What are you binding Aji?
I don't know the extra ropes in this room.
Tablecloth.
Yeah, I think you guys are just in like a hallway.
I don't know. Maybe I just have like a sash on my robe or something I took off.
Oh, you could use Aji's own daisho. Maybe you try to unwrap like the sword belt that he has to not only get the swords away from him, but like kind of tie him. And again, if you're tying his hands, one of those hands is really, really messed up.
Yeah. So I think if you wake up and be like, I have to keep you calm so that I can try to heal you.
I think I'm at 6 harm, so I'm not offering much resistance at the moment.
Okay. So Aji wakes up to witness this, but doesn't offer much resistance.
Do you know what you did?
Do you know what you did?
You tried to murder my children, saying they were guards.
Tried to arrest me.
My children have arrested no one in their lives.
You're not making much sense.
I fear that makes two of us.
And Aji, I think you're experiencing not only incredible pain, but almost like, obviously the pain in your hand and your arm, but also just your head is like a total blur. You definitely blacked out through part of this and kind of came to, and almost like where you get it's almost like you have a moment of lucidity amid like a crazy drunken stupor or like opium stupor, and are kind of barely there in regard to consciousness. And again, that has no mechanical effect, just as like a narrative thing.
So
Well, if he lets me bind him, then I do want to try to heal him.
Okay.
Not like I'm going to reverse this
Yeah.
mutilated hand, but at least just like thematically, I want to get him into a better.
We're just like actually healing. He was pretty nearly dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if you want to go ahead and make that roll.
Yeah, I mean, it might just fail. Depends on what Kami comes out.
All right.
There you get an XP. Target.
Okay.
What do we get?
Oof.
Oh,
Get it.
What I get? 5 plus 2 is 7?
7. All right.
Or bless?
Close one. Lowest you could have got.
Well, that just means Austin gets to choose which Kami comes out.
The fire goes back.
It could be.
Does he get to heal him?
Oh, it actually could be fire. Frighten or deliver harm. Earth will heal 1 harm. Air lets me deliver a message to anyone. And water will cleanse corruption and disease and poison and reduce Shadowland's taint.
Oh. Ooh.
Oh,
Didn't they have that ability?
I know. So, what is Yugare? Describe to me as best you can Yugare's state of mind through this. I mean, there's certain things that I'm sure are obvious, but like, just still go through it with me.
Well, I'll just, as a preface, I'll say that my spirit for the day is fire.
Yeah.
This is throwing that out there. If you couldn't tell at this point.
I think it's like confusion and then like almost like a defensive instinct and then a little bit of like regret and compassion. Like, I can't believe what I did. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So first confused, then like defensive instinct and regret.
I think the one that makes the most sense is air in this situation.
Okay.
And maybe that you call out to somebody.
Yeah, well, it'd be these guys.
Yeah.
Like, so I think you guys get like air Kami.
And what's
You hear Yugare's voice in your ear from nowhere.
what's the one sentence message that you send out for sure? Just at least as the initial thing, because it's going to hit them midway through a scene.
darkness has reached Aji,
That's bad.
Oh god.
That's a good one.
That's good.
and I had to put him down.
Oh my god. Alright, perfect.
Wow.
I'm sticking with it.
I like that.
That's the
That'll get us
best
there.
sentence that
Okay.
can be given.
We don't see that part. We see him lean down, and we see his eyes. We see Yugare's maybe his eyes start to glow. You two wanted to meet to have a conversation, and you had left the Shosuro Palace. You started to chat in front of the Shosuro Palace,
And this man decided no go.
but then, where did you head?
I believe it's over here now. Civil
Yeah, I
Hall.
think that's right.
Okay, so in the Civil Hall, you guys have it's a courtroom
That's never been used.
No, I think that's where, when we say you're doing your office hours,
Oh,
that's
okay.
probably where it is. It's like a courtroom that is also your office.
So what did you want to discuss, Tam? That couldn't be discussed out on the street.
Well, if you want, do you want?
I want the conflict. It's not short-term goals. I want the conflict in the city to end. The conflict within the Scorpion clan that is tearing the city apart. That's the short-term goal.
Between the two clans? The two Scorpion clans?
Yeah, that's what the two families being. I want their conflict to just end. I don't want that anymore.
I don't know. I don't think that saying that another family was involved is going to help that. Like we know, like what have you actually uncovered that proves the governor's corruption?
She has fully paid off Yoko Sako. When I investigated her, it was just, she's made moves against the other families in order to take over. All I know is that she has done things that has harmed the Koshiko family. Bayushi family.
Yeah, my
I got
family.
one of the words. Your family, and then also the people that left town, whatever their names are.
Shosuro?
Shosuro.
The Soshi.
Yeah, that's why I didn't try.
Hayo was part of the Shosuro family.
Anyway, so she has made moves against both of those families, and that's pretty much like the end of the evidence. I have not truly gotten a high-ranking member of anything to speak out against her as of now, other than Beishi Koshiko, when he was like ranting and raving.
I think that's the problem here is that basically just hearsay. And I met with her earlier today, and I'm convinced that you're right too. But is the end goal to take her down? Because I feel they'll just replace her with someone else. That they could be just as corrupt. It could be Jocho, or it could be someone else from any random place. I think we need to go
to put a full stop to it. She's not a cause of the sickness in this town, but she is a carrier of the disease, and I don't know where else to go in order to stop this city from falling apart, other than the woman who's causing such harm to it.
I'm convinced that she's corrupt too, and I think bringing this information to her is only going to add weapons to her, arsenal. Like now, she'll just know that the Shinjo family's after her, and she'll attack them next. I don't know if a direct
I think I'm more wanted
attack is working.
Just real quick, why would she think the Shinjo family's after her?
Yeah, I don't get that, but Shinjo family went after Horse Merchant, which was Korchika's merchant. And that was all this man's done, and the only reason I was going to her to get both sides on the same page.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, in case you misspoke, I don't know if you were talking about a different thing.
No, I guess if she knows that the Shinjo are involved,
okay,
then she'll shut them down.
Okay.
If I'm not sure how to handle this, but I don't know what the end goal should be. If we go to take down the governor, like I said, I think what happens then? And I don't think my cousin is innocent by any means either. I think this is just you say a disease, but I think it's just the natural situation of the city, and I think
the natural situation of the city cannot stand under the Emperor's law. It can't continue like that.
I don't see how it would change. Like, if we take out one element, someone else will just get in, to take over. I don't think there's, like, the way the city is built, I think the Emperor, or whoever is, I guess the Emperor, who's ever appointing the governor, like, set these people up specifically to deal with these problems. I think she's overstepped her bounds, but, like, she's obviously using it for her own gain, which I think that's something we need to go after, not just the huge corruption of the city in general. I don't know, like, how telling the governor is going to affect that situation. I think it's like you're a master on the battlefield, and I would never question any of your strategy, but my weapons are words, and I think just telling her flat out is could be a mistake.
At the very least, you need to tell Kochika so he doesn't escalate the situation. Because at the moment, he believes that she has killed his merchant.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring you here to tell you, is that I was able to convince the governor that I can have a private meeting with just the two of them to hopefully mediate some sort of lasting peace. But I don't know.
Are you sure that's what the governor wants? A lasting peace, that is, not a meeting with him.
It seems to me she just wants more money. And I'm trying to think of ways to appeal to that can also overlap with keeping the peace at least through the winter.
Yeah.
That's why I was apprehensive about telling her immediately. It's a very delicate situation.
I don't think, perhaps you would be apprehensive that, perhaps you would be hostile to the, whatever the name family. I wrote their name down.
The unicorn? Shinjo?
Yeah. Shinjo? Yeah. To the Shinjo family.
But, I know the city, I think it was kind of, built this way, but this is just the situation. Like, if we get rid of one person in particular, it's just going to, someone else is going to step in there, and they might not be able to deal with this as well as these people can. And right now it's I remember what I was saying. There's like a Shinjo, I think, even though I'm a Scorpion, they're very important because they're kind of the counterbalance to the Scorpion.
I would argue that Yugare is more of a counterbalance than the Shinjo family, because all they do is patronize merchants.
I agree with you 100%.
That's about it.
I was thinking the Shinjo are in like a really weak place right now, so I think this could be the depending on how corrupt she actually is or how much she.
So perhaps it is best not to tell her about us, but we must tell Kochika so that he stops his impulses to push back.
Yeah, so far I've been able to, from one degree or another, calm down Kochika a few times. Hoping I'll be able to do it.
I think you guys hear like a little bit of a commotion outside, and then you hear
sounds like sizzling flesh.
Yeah, you hear almost a knock on the door, which is someone like basically lets themselves be known that they're at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if you guys indicate at all to come in,
sure.
It's Yogo Asako.
Oh, cool. My favorite person.
Yeah, and she says,
you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tayo. If I could speak to you, if you have a moment.
Okay. Guess we'll have to talk about this later then.
Yeah, I guess I'd step out.
Okay, so you leave?
Yeah.
Or either you could stay there, you could pop out, you could...
What does she want? Oh, she wants me to go.
She wants to talk just with you, is what you can probably easily figure out. But yeah, it could be either way. If you leave the room, that's one thing. Or
I want to speak to you. Come here. That's fine.
She says it very nonchalantly, like I need to. If I could speak with you.
Oh, I'd probably just let you just like walk over there and talk to her.
Sure.
It's a room.
Okay.
Indiscriminate size. Could be like a football field. You know?
Sure. All right. So if you pop out into the hallway, you can see that the place is. A lot of the Thunder Guard have left.
Mm-hmm. It's like nighttime, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely nighttime. And it's the same night that across town, Aji and Yugare are having their incident.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're kind of out of earshot of the courtroom where you just were, she kind of like has you walking with her almost to like the front door of the place.
Sure.
And she'll say, there's been an attack on one of the chasseurs' central warehouses.
So that's the magic
governors.
lady? Oh, okay.
The
What
governors.
you do? We need to just bounce him. I don't know. What is he?
So there's been an attack on her central warehouse. A bunch of the Thunder Guard are heading there now. I'm heading there now. You need a heads up on this. Keep the other magistrates away from it.
You don't think they could help?
She says it's too risky to bring them in. If you want to come, you can, but I don't even know if you should.
You gotta go now. She's saying shit like that.
Is it Bayushi?
She says, I've just heard that there's an attack. We're going. I have to go now.
All right. Can you tell me what happens then?
She says, I'll let you know what's going on. And that's when you hear whispered in your head,
Aji's fallen into the darkness. I had to put him down.
and both of you hear that. So you're still back in that
Very
courtroom,
truncated. I loved it.
and you're talking with Yoko Owari. And I think we see her mouth still moving as you hear this in your head, and we flip back and forth between the two of you, knowing you both got this message, or both Ishii and Tayo got this message. And what does
I
Ishii
would
do?
leave the courtroom. I would just go to the residence.
Okay, Ishii heads right on out.
Yeah, just go.
Okay. Meanwhile, I think Yoko Osako just waits for your response. Waits for Tayo's response, I should say.
Something else may have come up. I think I might have to. All right, just keep me updated on that, I guess, as soon as you can, since I'm going to the magistrate's house. That's what I tell her.
Okay. And she kind of looks quizzical for a second, and then just kind of heads over to one of the horses that's kind of waiting to zip out there.
Yeah, she was saying, definitely I shouldn't go, right?
She was saying if it's a good idea for any of you to go, you should go. It is a bad idea for any of them to go.
Yeah, I probably should.
But if any of you should go, you should.
All right, fuck it. There's probably conflict on Tayo's face. What should I do? But yeah, I guess I will go.
All right.
Yeah. Are there any servants in earshot?
There's always
if you need to talk to somebody to send a message, absolutely.
Yeah, just tell. God, after just hearing that message too. Tell Ishii, don't wait up for me. I have to deal with an immediate problem.
All right, and this sort of just bows and kind of runs off to the magistrate residence. I think we hop back to Yugare has tied Aji up. Aji is conscious, but like I said, narratively at least, your kind of head is real in the clouds. You've whispered this message, and I think Ishii is going to arrive whenever he decides it's the dramatic time for him to arrive. Unless if Yugare just is man, he locks Aji in a closet, then it's then he's already there. But if you're trying to speak with Aji or talk with him in any way.
I'll ask what brought this on? What happened to you?
What are you talking about? You're the one who started it.
You were yelling. You claimed that I had taken something and hidden it from you. You attacked my children.
You didn't know such thing. You went through my things. You stole something from me. Am I supposed to let that lie?
That is not the truth, Aji.
It's my truth.
It's not the truth, and what is?
There's a dark power in the city, and I fear its hold on you is too strong.
I don't sense anything. I don't get what that has to do with any of this.
I should have told the others sooner about the things you were letting into your life. What'd you call the dark spirit?
The Kansen?
Yeah, the Kansen. The Kansen are dark spirits that prey on weakness, and I have abided it in you.
Calling you weak. Kill him again.
I think maybe there's a hint of that in Aji's eyes, and I'll just say the opium. I've seen it in you, Aji, and I told no one. I kept your secret, and look where we are now.
Say it.
You believe I took your pipe. You treasure it so deeply that the Kansen was able to rile you. We all bear flaws, and I have my own, but I shouldn't have kept your secret when so much is at stake.
I think we're gonna have to disagree here. Agree to disagree. I don't see the problem you are seeing.
I think this scene might be slightly humorous. We're gonna have to agree to disagree.
We're gonna have to disagree.
Where are you guys just in that hallway?
Smell his black in hand.
I mean, I wonder if we're still just like he's lying on the floor of the hallway with Yugare leaning over him.
And him, like, you've tied up his hands?
Yeah.
Because they're agreeing to disagree is probably the time for me to come in.
Okay. I think that you enter to see this odd scene with Aji just saying, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree. He's bound with like kind of like the blue the wrap that is the daisho, which I don't remember what it's called, but he's kind of bound up with that, but you see one of his hands looks blackened, looks burned almost.
Oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay, Ashi?
He has seen visions instilled in him by a dark spirit called a Kansen.
What did you see, Aji?
I've just seen that my things have been gone through, and something has been stolen from me.
I don't think Yugare's actually looked at Aji's room yet.
It's true, he's not.
So I'll just say he may have found his room disheveled, and a spirit led him to blame me for that. He thought my children were guards and attacked them.
Did you detect any magic? I don't know how magic works.
I'd say Ishii has probably heard the term Kansen and just knows them as like evil spirits. Like they're like bad. They're like bad kami. Yeah.
I sense that there is a dark power that is able to creep into men's minds and force them to act as they normally would not, and to amplify their darkness that's already within them.
Have we checked Audrey's room? Did somebody actually break into the house?
That I don't know. I've stayed with him. He believes his opium pipe is missing.
I'm gonna call
it's something
over.
He treasures deeply. I'll kind of give a knowing look. I feel like at some point in the initial part of the campaign, you said that it's kind of something that people enjoy.
Oh no, it's super illegal.
Okay.
People do it, but it's very illegal.
Very illegal. I'm gonna call over a servant to check on Audrey. I don't know how medicine works. Are there real doctors, or is it just Shugenja?
There probably actually are doctors, and they do stuff through like the equivalent of some surgeries, like that kind of thing, and poultices and that kind of stuff.
Oh, wait, can I throw something out there? Legal opium for medicine is okay, and he's real fucked up even before the hand thing. So it makes sense that he could have some opium in his room or something, right?
True.
That's why it was important that I.
Yeah, it was important that this man winked at me and
Yeah,
this is not just his medicine,
right? But here's the deal: it's only legal in pill form. So the smokable and drinkable forms of it are completely illegal.
Oh, I didn't know that to be true.
There are lots of places you can get it for sure. This is the city to do that exact thing. But it's that's when it's illegal. So when you go to the Temple of the Sun to get opium, it's pills. The people who hang out in opium dens are usually smoking it or sometimes drinking it.
Okay. So I'm gonna have a servant call for a doctor, and then I'm going to I think that we should investigate Aji's room while the doctor sees to his wounds.
I wonder if Aji requires more attention, more personal attention.
If you wish to stay with him, you can. But I'm going to go. I'm going to see if anything is missing. I'm going to go. I'm going to look at his room and see what's going on.
Sure.
Okay.
So I think Ishii heads into Aji's room, and
I would ask permission of Aji. I would be like, can I go into your room to investigate if somebody has broken into our home and stolen things? I'm going to give that to you.
Trying to mediate this argument, then show me that my pipe is not missing.
I will do my best to figure out if that is the case. So yeah, I'll take that as enough of a sure go, but I'll go.
All right.
Yeah.
So Ishii heads into Aji's suite, and again, this is a small apartment. What is a prized possession that Ishii sees that Aji has?
You will see one small photo of Magda.
Oh my god.
So like
Stereotype.
yeah.
Jesus.
So like a painting of Magda.
Oh, this man.
All right. So you see like a. Okay.
God.
You see somewhere in
This
his
is your prized possession.
in his
the
place.
photo of the one you had killed. Okay. Go on.
Did you see?
Okay.
You see a description like a painting of a woman with yellow hair that like matches the description of Magda? Because I don't think you've ever met.
I've never met Magda.
Yeah.
So like.
But so you could see that, and you've heard of this person, like talk of this
and
person.
he's talked about Magda.
Maybe it's like
yeah.
drawn, but only the hair is painted because it's yellow.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
the only bit of color.
Interesting.
Yeah, the rest is like black and white watercolor kind of thing. All right.
Sumie painting.
There you go. But yeah, it sounds like you're reading the situation. Because you look in this room and it seems pretty normal.
It doesn't.
Nothing's knocked over. Everything. It seems like a fairly tidy space. We got a 7+.
It's gonna be a 9.
A 9. Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay then. Oh my gosh, your sheet is different. That's weird.
It's the advanced one.
Oh, okay. That's smart.
There you go.
No, it's just it's literally things are in different places. That's all.
Yeah.
So I have one too. I have a normal one. So
What is the best way out of here?
the door. What should I be on lookout for? Has been like the go-to to what am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that.
Yeah. No one has broken into this room. You look around and you see nothing looks out of place. If you search around long enough, there is an opium pipe in this room.
Okay.
Especially if you go into like the equivalent of like drawers or that kind of thing. Nothing seems out of place. There's a small amount of money in a place that if someone was to really be certainly stealing from or robbing this place, that would certainly probably be gone. But then the thing that Aji has accused Yugare of taking is right there. Nothing seems out of place in the slightest. And what you should be on the lookout for, you think, is what Yugare has brought up. That if there are evil spirits, you know that evil spirits can play tricks on the mind, especially a mind that already might have kind of what in Rokugani society I think would definitely be viewed as like a weakness to it already.
So yeah, I would just bring the pipe out back so Audrey could see it and be like, I mean, your pipe is right here. Nobody's broken into your room as far as I can tell. I think that Yugare may be correct. There might be
He's in on it.
a dark force at work here. We must turn our attention to.
Well, fine. Who do we need to see or fight?
If only it were as easy as fighting a spirit like this out of you.
So we all know ghosts are not so easily quelled for spirits. I don't know, man. I'll say.
Am I the source of this spirit?
I don't believe you are. I encountered another earlier today. I killed a peasant who was possessed with the same darkness.
I remember that's not entirely what happened, but okay. We'll go with it. But I remember you literally hallucinated that he had a dagger. But it's okay. We'll go with this
I'm
version.
getting that mixed up.
We'll just go with this version where,
It could be fine if that's what Yugare thinks.
yeah, that's actually an interesting angle.
Yeah, I think he thinks that.
Okay.
Dang.
Saying the spirits,
Is it targeting us as magistrates?
or maybe they just surround Yugare. You seem to be at the center of these events.
Audrey might have a point.
If so, I'll be useless to you. There are 4 of us for a reason. If you believe I've been compromised, I can be detained until this is solved.
Even if you have been compromised, I believe you're the only one with the capacity, the skills to be able to find this spirit, to deal with this spirit. Pick your choice.
I hope so.
I don't think you should be detained either. Just maybe it's the city. Maybe we should just burn it to the ground. Maybe Michitaka. Damn.
Sometimes fire can be cleansing.
Jesus. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna like look at Aji's fucking destroyed hand and like look back at you like, yeah?
Alright, Tayo, you arrive in the fisherman's quarter, specifically in the crab caves, but kind of the northern end of the crab caves, as just only a couple. You're following behind Yogo Osako, not by much at all. She's just essentially leading you in this way, and it's not super tough for you to figure out which way you're going, because once you cross the Dragon Bridge and are in the fisherman quarter, pretty soon you can see, of course, a plume of smoke. And as you approach, there is chaos. There is a warehouse that's on fire, and you see that there are people that are on fire as well, that are kind of, you hear these screams of people, you hear some of the clatter of like fighting that's going on, but mostly just these screams. And you can see folks like rushing towards the building, people running away from the building. Some peasants are starting to gather to look on. But yeah, you hear the crackling, and of course you smell opium. The sweet, incensey smell of opium, as this is definitely a big warehouse full of it. And Yogo Osako had described this as Hyobu's central warehouse.
Are there firemen there?
Yeah, you can see that some of the firemen are attempting to put this fire out, but the flames are already pretty darn big. And so some of what they're having to do is, like I said, essentially tear down or move things away. One or two of them, you might see like some part of this building collapses and maybe crushes one of these firemen.
Jesus.
What, who's in charge? Like what fire?
So the crab caves are the fire eaters' territory.
Which one are they? The horn people?
They're the folks who have the fire tattoos. It's nearer to the exterior wall of the city.
Give
you some red string for this.
Yeah, let's stand there.
Okay.
Sounds like you're reading a situation.
Yeah, sure. That's what I'm doing.
You can ask some questions that are basically on there.
Well, still an 8.
Okay, it's not bad.
Now, who's in control here?
Oof. Who's in control here is really, really rough. This situation has degenerated absolutely into chaos.
So the god of chaos.
Yeah. So you can tell as you come in that this fire is like very, very. This fire has escalated very quickly, and so there seems to be some kind of. You're going to go ahead and wager that either magic or some kind of really significant sabotage caused this to happen, to burn very, very fast. And yet, in the other instances, whoever seemed to be attacking seemed to have like much more control over this. This seems much more chaotic or much more messed up. And there's all kinds of stuff is on fire, and there's some sounds, like I said, there's some sounds of battle, and it's really up in the air. It doesn't seem like anyone is in control. The Thunder Guard are certainly not in control. Yogo Osako is not in control. But you also think whoever's responsible for this attack is also not in control here. So I think you see Yogo Osako kind of head much closer in, and a guy shows up. And he gives her like a brief description. Just one of the Thunder Guard kind of comes up to her, and she kind of heads in. You see some 2 Thunder Guards stumble out of the burning warehouse, and you can see that they're actually fighting with one another. And these 2 Thunder Guard are they're fighting with one. I just say with their katanas, and so the 2 of them are fighting, and one of them just kills the other one.
And I'm privy to that information that's what was happening.
Yeah, you had
outside,
heard.
Right?
You had heard that. I think you had heard it. Some of it from Ishii that he'd figured out, and then you heard it from someone else. I think either Yogo Osako. Yugare had also figured out some of that from his buddy Ajo.
Oh yeah, I think I remember this. Like just making the connection that it's like illusion kind of thing going on.
Yeah, but so. One of them just absolutely strikes down the other guy, and I think Yogo Sako kind of like screams at the guy, and this other Thunder Guard who was talking to her scream at the guy as well. And
is there any way to like counteract illusion or magic stuff?
I mean, from what you understand of it, it would probably either involve magic or like the equivalent of snap out of it, kind of like slapping a person, but that's just like what you think would like, whatever you would think you'd get a person's attention when they're being delusional.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't think there's anything I can really do.
All right. I think that this guy kind of turns and he runs almost like back into the fire to like escape them.
Oh, the Thunder Guard does?
Mm-hmm. And do we just kind of, I think, see that?
There's like nothing I can do.
Okay, so you got to just kind of wait this out?
Yeah, I can't think of one thing.
Okay. So, in this case, eventually, a huge portion of this thing, warehouse collapses. Like, you saw a chunk of it collapse before. Now I'd say like a quarter or a third of the roof collapses. By the time you hear at least the sounds of fighting stop. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of standing there just watching this scene as the fire eaters are attempting to put out whatever they can. And the night just drags on, essentially. And I'd say it's going to be at least several hours until they get this fire out.
I mean, I would just leave after probably less than an hour.
So
I can't do anything.
In that time, once you hear the sounds of fighting stop, you could talk to some of the Thunder Guard that are there. Because like a lot of them are still around, either nursing wounds or...
I mean, it seems obvious that they're like magic and sorceral, right?
It definitely fits all the description stuff from before.
Mm-hmm.
But if you thought it was an illusion from before, when you go over and look at one of the Thunder Guard, the one that you saw get struck down, you saw 2 Thunder Guard fighting and one strike another down. The one who you saw get struck down is definitely a real dead dude.
Okay, maybe I'll go to one of them that was doing that and just demand, like, why were you fighting the other Thunder Guard?
And I think this guy, and he looks like he might be a little bit stoned, and so this Thunder Guard says they just attacked. They showed up for what? Somebody said there was increased security here, and then they came in, and then just a fire started. And people started attacking us.
Who was attacking you?
They were other guys. They were Thunder Guard who showed up for just increased security. But then the place went up in flames.
So why were you attacking?
I don't know. So if you want to read this guy, you definitely can.
Sure.
We got an 8 plus 3. 3 plus 2.
Do I get my +1 bonus from Rita Stitch?
What was the question that you asked in Rita's situation?
Who's in control?
Who's in control here? That none of these people were in control? I'll give it to you.
That's a 12.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So he's like, yeah.
Was it illusion or was it magic or something?
This guy is convinced definitely it was magic, but he doesn't think there's any illusions about it. He said somebody came in here and just started shooting fire, and it was someone dressed like one of the Thunder Guard. He was like, I swear to God, there was just, I swear to the fortunes. So the fire shot out of his hands. They showed up said they were here for reinforcements. It makes sense, right? And maybe this guy's real high and kind of doesn't really notice who you are, and it's like, I mean, with what the Bayushis were doing, that makes sense for there to be more security.
What do you mean? What were they doing? Yeah, who started this fire, actually?
Is that one of your questions?
Just those people?
He said somebody came in dressed as a Thunder Guard. I won't have that be one of your questions. Like he said, someone came in who was dressed as a Thunder Guard and started just apparently shooting off fire in this place. So he doesn't think there was he doesn't talk about any illusion magic. So magic he brings up is that fire started being shot out by someone.
Is it Thunder Guard you recognized?
And he says, and it's like, there's a lot of us. And I think some of the Ada, like by the time you have this conversation, again, I think kind of hours have gone by and you've maybe been chatting with a few people, and maybe there's some Ada that pulled people there, or maybe some of the Thunder Guard have pulled wounded out.
Mm-hmm.
And if he like looks at some of them, he looks at one of the Thunder Guard and says, I've never seen that guy in my entire life.
And he's dead?
Yeah.
Do they look like Scorpion?
I don't think that there's a look. I think most of the folks ethnically look pretty
it's
much the same.
Unicorn and not unicorn, right?
So even them, like, mostly look pretty similar.
Is he wearing a scorpion mask?
No.
So, I mean, they have, like, the armor on and that kind of stuff.
But he doesn't look like a unicorn, at least.
So, I think the thing that he'll point out is he goes, no, I wouldn't recognize that guy. We're not allowed to have beards. And this dude has a beard.
Who has beards?
This is
Like, does
the
anyone
most,
else?
This is the most helpful Thunder Guard I've ever been in the entire game. All right, anyway, go on.
But, like, who just anyone...
People
else
can
that-
definitely have beards and facial hair and that kind of stuff. It's just apparently this guy's kind of revealing. You notice, none of the Thunder Guard, like all of them are clean shaven. Like none of them have beards, and you realize now, like that's got to be part of the dress code. Of like, you wear these helmets with these red plumes, and you dress like this, and nobody has any facial hair. And this guy definitely has a beard.
Right.
So it's now singed like crazy, but I'll say like a lot of like a good portion of his face is pretty burned really badly. But from what he can, there are two. He'll go around with you, and there are two bodies people he does not recognize. One person he just looks at the face. The face isn't burned, but he says, "I've never seen this dude in my life." There's another guy who the face is badly burned, but you can see that he does have a beard. And he says, and this guy I've never seen before, we're not allowed to have beards, so we'll just tell you that straight out.
And they're both dead, right?
Yeah, Thunder Guard armor, and they're both dead, yeah.
It's Fade's bandits.
Yeah, is there anything about their
Just throwing
uniforms that are, like, that would give that away? Because it was, like, a bunch of stolen stuff, right?
Yeah, this guy,
They did steal a bunch of Thunder Guard.
this guy says those are the uniforms.
They didn't change the uniforms after they were stolen?
They don't have the budget for that.
They sell opium.
They guard the city.
They have budget for whatever they want.
Municipal budget issues.
On this episode,
Don't even get me started on the pension plan these guys get.
go on.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, did I ask all my questions?
You probably have one more, but it's stuff for this guy.
I always get these questions, like,
That don't
useless.
matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else knew that this warehouse was here? There we go. Or what was stored in this warehouse, I guess.
And
Opium?
Yeah, that's theoretically secret, right?
Public, that's true.
and
It's a secret.
he'll kind of be like, oh, it's legal opium. I mean, we're allowed to. He kind of goes through that, and as he says it, you can kind of you realize. I mean, the criminal element of the city would definitely know that this is here.
So yeah, anybody.
And-
it's not secret, I guess is the answer.
So I think it would be, kind of secret to polite and proper society for
But
sure.
not to Bayushi or anyone that would...
Yeah,
want to
Bayushi
burn this.
Koichika would definitely know about
Yeah,
this.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
So,
Everyone that would burn it knows about it. Alright.
but I think,
Because the beards, though.
I think
Is there, like, a certain family that has beards, or is it just anybody? Is it, like, in fashion?
there's different characters that do for sure.
All right.
I don't think there's like
Sure.
a specific family that has. It's like the Beardies.
Fair enough. Well, I'm gonna make sure that these two bodies are separated
Okay. And
from the rest of everybody.
if you like wait for a little while, like some of the Ada will start to show up as this fire is like gotten under control, but it does take a while. Do you want?
I
anything in
literally
particular?
can't think of any. I mean,
Well, I mean, with the bodies, you want them. You said you want them kept
I'm
separately.
thinking that maybe Yugare could do some magic to it, but I don't even like. How does your fire thing work? It's just
Dirty
places,
body
or
magic.
like what?
Well, I couldn't do it. My spirit of the day isn't gonna do it, but the move itself, it depends on which spirit manifests, and it will let me either see what happened, hear the voices of what happened.
So are these bodies important? I guess is what I'm asking, or can I just?
I don't think the body. It's more the place than the bodies.
Okay.
You also know that you could have the bodies examined by the Ada.
Well, they're just like. Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. And so you give instructions for them to be examined.
City of Lies is Tone as Kakita Aji, Brandon as Hida Ishii, David as Bayushi Tayo, Andrew as Agasha Yugare, and Austin as your Game Master. The theme music for City of Lies is Mission of Danger by Lobo Loco.
This American Dice Ryoko Owari City of Lies uses the City of Lies box set by Greg Stolz, published by Alderac Entertainment Group. The mechanics used is a modified PBTA system by Brendan Taylor of Galileo Games. Join us next time for more This American Dice. Hey everybody, if you could please rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher, it would really help This American Dice. And for every 5-star review we receive, we'll read it on air. Join us next week for another episode of This American Dice.